Act 1 of Andromache by Jean Racine, translated by Robert Bruce Boswell. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Introduction to Andromache. In this tragedy, which made its appearance in 1667, there is a more intricate plot than is usual in Racine's plays, and it offers a greater variety of character and motive. Love, jealousy, friendship, conjugal fidelity, maternal tenderness, anger, and despair are all portrayed with skillful touches, and if the language is that of the French court of the 17th century, the natural emotions of the human heart, the same in all ages, show themselves plainly under the mask of conventional mannerism. Racine has taken the subject of his drama from the third book of Virgil's Aeneid, lines 291 to 322, and the Andromache of Euripides, but has modified the ancient tradition so far as to make Hector's son Astyanax the object of the heroine's solicitude instead of Molossus, the fruit of her subsequent union with Pyrrhus. Characters:
Andromache, widow of Hector, captive of Pyrrhus. Read by Sonia.
Pyrrhus, son of Achilles, king of Epirus. Read by Matthew Reese.
Orestes, son of Agamemnon, as read by Richard Jaspering.
Hermione, daughter of Helen, betrothed to Pyrrhus. Read by Shreya
SethiPylades, friend of Orestes. Read by Alan Mapstone.
Cleone, friend of Hermione. Read by Jessica Hendra.
Cephissa, friend of Andromache. Read by Hanna
PonomarenkoPhoenix, tutor of Achilles and afterwards of Pyrrhus. Read by Todd.
Stage directions, read by David Purdy. The scene is laid at Bothrotum, a town of Epirus, in a hall at the palace of Pyrrhus. Andromache, a tragedy. Act 1, Scene 1. Orestes, Pylades.
Yes, since I find again a friend so true, my fortune begins to wear another face. Already seems her wrath to have been soothed, permitting us to meet each other here. Who would have thought that this detested coast would first present you to Orestes' eyes, and, lost 6 months and more, you should be found wherein Epirus Pyrrhus holds his court?
Thanks be to heaven that has detained my steps so oft and seemed to shut me out from Greece since that disastrous day when winds and waves scattered our vessels almost in the sight of this Epirus. How I mourned and wept, myself an exile, for Orestes' fate, dreading for him ever some danger new, some sorrow that my friendship could not share. That melancholy most of all I feared, which I have seen so long your soul o'ercloud. I feared that heaven might grant you cruel aid, and offer what you ever sought, a tomb. But now I see you, and, if I may dare to say it, happier fortune brings you here. This stately train that on your steps attends looks not like that of wretch who seeks his death.
Alas, who knows what fortune is my guide? Love bids me seek a cruel mistress here, but I am ignorant of fate's decrees, whether 'tis life or death that I shall find.
Is then your soul so bound in slavery that for love's sake alone you care to live? What spell constrains you to those fires again? The tortures you have suffered all forgot. Will she who would not listen to your prayers at Sparta in Epirus prove more kind? Ashamed of having uttered vows so vain, you should despise her, speak no more of her. Your words deceived me.
I deceived myself. O'erwhelm not, friend, a wretch who clings to you. Have I from you e'er hidden heart's desire? You knew my flame fresh born, my earliest sighs. When Menelaus pledged his daughter's hand to Pyrrhus, the avenger of his race, you witnessed my despair. Since then you've seen how I have dragged my chains from sea to sea. I saw you, pitying my forlorn estate, ready to follow me where'er I went. Checking my madness in its wild career, you saved me from myself from day to day. But when, distracted by my fears, I thought Hermione was lavishing her charms on Pyrrhus, well you know how, filled with wrath, I strove to make forgetfulness repay her scorn. I made you think, and thought myself the victory achieved, deemed passion changed to hatred, and, disparaging her charms, abhorred her harshness, and defied her eyes, to raise the tender feelings I'd crushed. In that deceitful calm I came to Greece, and found her princes mustered to withstand a danger, and no mean one, that appeared fraught with fresh troubles. Eagerly I joined their ranks, and hoped in war to find release from other cares, that, former strength regained, my heart would lose all memory of love. But mark with me how persecuting fate entrapped me in the snare I thought to shun. On every side I heard murmurs and threats, raised against Pyrrhus from the whole of Greece, complaining that, forgetful of his blood, and promise, at his court he rears her foe, Astyanax, the young ill-fated son of Hector, relic of so many kings buried neath Troy. To save the babe from death, Andromache, as I have heard, deceived wily Ulysses, while another child, torn from her arms, was slaughtered in his stead. They say Hermione has failed to charm my rival, that elsewhere his heart and crown he offers. Menelaus, loath to trust the rumor, is sore vexed at long delay. The cause of his displeasure is to me a source of secret triumph, yet at first I deemed it but a feeling of revenge, a thought that flattered pride. But soon I found the fair tormentor had resumed her place within my heart. The smoldering fire revived, I felt my hatred melt and disappear, or rather felt my love had never ceased. Soliciting support from all the Greeks to Pyrrhus I was sent, and here I am. My mission is to try if I can wrest this infant from his arms who, while he lives, brings fear to many. Happy shall I be if I can carry off, not Hector's son, but my princess, nor fancy that my flame, fanned by repression, can extinguished be by any peril. All resistance proved to be in vain. I blindly yield myself to passion's sway. I love Hermione, am come to win her, fly with her or die. Pyrrhus, you know, what think you will he do? Tell me what passes in his court, and what within his heart. Still to Hermione is he enslaved? Will he restore the prize of which he robbed me?
Should I promise that, I should deceive you. Not with his consent shall she be yours. Not that he seems much pleased to have won her. Hector's widow fires his heart with warmer passion, but she proves unkind, and hitherto has paid his love with hate, though daily he attempts in every way to bind her stubborn will or rouse her fears. From her he hides her boy, threatens his life. Then fain would dry the tears he forced to flow. Hermione has seen 100 times her lover's wrath submit to sue again, and offer humbly oft-rejected vows, with troubled sighs of mingled love and rage. You must not then expect that I can tell the emotions of a heart so ill-controlled. In its distraction he may wed, perchance, the one he scorns, and lose the one he loves.
But tell me how Hermione beholds her charms condemned, the marriage rites delayed.
To all appearances she would seem, my lord, disdainful of her suitor's fickleness, and thinks that anxious to be reconciled, he'll soon entreat her to take back his heart. To me, indeed, she has her grief revealed. She mourns in secret his indifference. Ready to leave him, still she always stays, and sometimes calls Orestes to her aid.
Ah, if I thought so, Pylades, full soon would I go, cast myself.
Fulfill your task. Wait on the king, and tell him that all Greece is banded against Hector's son. So far from giving up the child of her he loves, their hatred will but make his heart more fond. All efforts made to part them will the more unite them. Urge your mission, and its end must fail. He comes.
Prepare her then to see a lover who comes hither but for her.
Scene 2. Pyrrhus, Orestes, Phoenix.
Ere by my voice all Greece addresses you, let me express my pleasure in her choice of me, and at beholding face to face Achilles' offspring, conqueror of Troy. Yes, we admire your exploits like his own. Before him Hector fell, Troy before you. Your daring and success alike have shown Achilles' son alone can fill his place. But what he never would have done, with pain we see you do, giving unhappy Troy fresh power to injure, letting pity move your heart with fatal touch, prolonging feud already waged so long. Do you forget the might of Hector? We remember still what blood he cost us. At his very name widows and orphans tremble. Not a home but calls for vengeance on this son of his, for father or for husband lost through him. Who knows what harm this child may one day work? Perchance he may come down upon our ports, as we have seen his sire do, burn our ships, and, fire in hand, pursue them o'er the waves. Sir, shall I dare to tell you what I think? You fear what recompense your cares may meet, and lest this serpent in your bosom nursed may punish you one day for sheltering him. Be the desire of Greece then satisfied, secure your life by wreaking her revenge. Destroy a dangerous foe, who will on you practice the sword hereafter to be used against her.
Greece alarms herself too much on my behalf. By more important cares I thought her moved, and that such envoy brought some grander project than I yet have heard. Who would suppose that Agamemnon's son would deign to intervene in this affair? Or that all Greece, after such triumphs won, could thus conspire against an infant's life? To whom am I to make the sacrifice? Greece may no longer claim his life as hers. Or is it not allowed to me alone of all the Greeks to treat as I may please a captive won by lot? When 'neath the walls of smoking Troy the victor's blood besprent, the spoil divided, to my share there fell Andromache and Hector's infant son. Ulysses made the cup of misery o'erflow for Hecuba. To Argos went Cassandra with your sire. Have I controlled them or their captives, or presumed to claim the fruit of their brave deeds? They fear the day when Hector shall revive. His son may take my life if his be spared. Such caution shows care in excess. Misfortunes so remote are quite beyond my ken. I see proud Troy as once she was, mother of heroes, queen of Asia, crowned with towers. And then I see how she fell headlong, how she prostrate lies. For walls but heaps of ashes I behold, a river that runs blood, forsaken fields, a child in chains. And little can I think that Troy, so fallen, meditates revenge. If it were sworn that Hector's son should die, why did we let a year pass o'er his head? Why could we not have slain him in the arms of Priam? Troy might well have been his tomb, no less than that of others. Age and youth pleaded alike in vain their weakness then. War's frenzy and night's darkness, worse than we, left no distinctions to our murderous swords. My rage was fierce as that of any there against the vanquished. But should cruelty outlive one's fury? Can I in cool blood, discarding pity, slaughter a poor child? No, sir. Let Greece hunt up some other prey. Efface elsewhere all vestiges of Troy. My enmity is finished, and what war has spared, Epirus safely shall preserve.
You know, my lord, full well what cunning trick brought to the sword a false Astyanax instead of Hector's son. It is not Troy, nor Trojans. It is Hector they pursue. Greece tracks the father's footsteps in the son. The wrath his bloodshed kindled must in blood be quenched, and none but Hector's can avail. E'en to Epirus will they follow it. prevent them.
No, the challenge I accept with joy, and in Epirus let them seek a second Troy, while hatred makes them class with foes the friend who brought them victory. Greece will not then for the first time requite unjustly all Achilles' services. Once Hector profited, the day may come when Hector's son shall profit in his turn.
So Greece in you finds a rebellious son.
Have I then conquered only to depend on her?
Hermione will check your course. Between her father and yourself her eyes will interpose.
She may be dear to me, and yet I need not be her father's slave because I love her. Time may reconcile honor, perchance, with what affection claims. Meanwhile, fair Helen's daughter you may see. I know what tie of blood links you and her. No longer will I keep you after that. Go, say that I refuse what Greece demands.
Scene 3. Pyrrhus, Phoenix.
Thus, then, you send him to his mistress's feet?
Long for the princess has his passion burned, they say.
What? If that fire should be revived, his heart be given to her, and her to him?
Let them love, Phoenix. She may take her leave with my consent. Aye, let the enamored pair go back to Sparta. Not a port shall bar their exit. Let her spare me more constraint.
My lord.
I'll bear my soul another time. Andromache approaches.
Scene 4. Pyrrhus, Andromache, Phoenix, Cephissa.
Is it I, madam, you seek? May I indulge a hope so pleasing?
I was passing to the place that holds my son, permitted once a day to see the only being left to me of Troy and Hector, and I have not yet wept with him, no, nor held him in my arms a moment.
Greece, if her alarm tells truth, will give you other causes soon for tears.
What is this terror that has struck her heart? Has then some Trojan managed to escape?
Not yet extinguished is the hatred felt for Hector, and they dread his son.
Their fear has found a worthy object. He, poor child, yet knows not Hector for his sire, nor you for master.
All the same, the Greeks demand his blood, and Agamemnon's son is here to urge his punishment.
Will you pronounce sentence so hard? My interest in him is his sole crime. It is not that they fear he will avenge his father, but will dry his mother's tears. He would have filled the place of sire and husband. I must lose them all, and at your hand.
Weep not. I have refused to do their bidding, though they threaten war. Shall they again with twice 500 ships set sail, to force you to give up your son, though all the blood that Helen caused to flow must be the price, and after 10 years' war my palace sink in flames, I falter not. And with my own will I defend his life. But mid these perils, suffered for your sake, will you refuse to grant a kinder look? Pressed on all sides and hated by the Greeks, must I still strive against your cruelty? My arm is at your service. May I hope you will accept the heart's devotion too? Let not your champion have to reckon you among the number of his enemies.
Think what you do, my lord, what Greece will say. Can souls so great as yours such weakness show? You would not have your generous purpose pass for the mere madness of a love-sick swain. How can you wish a captive sad as I to love you? I, who cannot bear myself. Can eyes that sorrow haunts have charms for you, doomed by yourself to everlasting tears? No, no. Respect your captive's misery, relieve the wretched. To a mother's arms restore a son, withstand the cruelty of all the Greeks, nor make my heart the price of succor, and at need against my will protect him. That were conduct that befits Achilles' son.
What? Is your wrath still hot? Shall hatred and the punishment it prompts ne'er cease? Much woe I doubtless caused, and Troy has seen this hand dyed crimson with your blood 100 times. But, smitten by the shafts from beauty's eyes, have I not dearly paid for all their tears, and long since learned remorse? I suffer all the ills I gave to Troy, vanquished and taken prisoner, with regrets loaded, consumed with fires more fierce than those I kindled. Such anxiety, such tears, such restless longings, was I e'er so harsh as you are now? Have you not punished me indeed enough? Nay, let our common foes unite us. Tell me only I may hope. I give you back your son, will be to him a father, and will teach him to avenge his country. I myself will punish Greece for your calamities and mine. One look shall give me strength for all. Troy shall revive, e'en from her ashes. Sooner than its siege lasted, her walls shall rise, your son be crowned her king.
I care not for such glory now. That prospect pleased me while his father lived. Troy's sacred walls, that Hector could not save, may never hope to see our faces more. My lord, the wretched are content with less. 'Tis exile only that these tears demand. Far from the Greeks, I, too, and far from you, let me go hide my son and mourn my loss. Your love inflames their hatred against us. Return to Helen's daughter. Oh, return.
That can I not. Then why distress me more? How may a heart that's yours be given to her? I know that she was promised its command. I know she hither came to reign as queen. Fate to Epirus brought you both alike, her to impose the chains of slavery, and you to wear them. But I took no pains to please her. Seeing how your charms prevail and hers are scorned, it might be rather thought that she is a captive here, and you are queen. Ah, how a single sigh of all I breathe for you would carry joy if given to her.
How should they not be welcome? Can she ever forget the services that you have wrought? Hector and Troy are names that do not cause a shudder, nor is all her tenderness devoted to the dead. Ah, what a loss was mine, bitter to think on. Slaying him, your father made himself immortal, gained the crown of all his glory, and my tears have made you both renowned.
It needs must be that I obey you, madam, and forget, nay, hate you. Love has been too violent to change its course to mere indifference. Be well assured, the heart henceforth that loves no more with passion must with fury hate. Naught will I in my righteous anger spare. The son shall answer for the mother's scorn. Greece asks his life. Why should I always stoop to save the ungrateful? I'll do so no more.
Alas, then he must die. His mother's tears his sole protection, and his innocence. And yet, perchance, so wretched is my lot, his death may lift this load of misery. Life and its woes I bore but for his sake. To follow him will bring me to his sire. Thus reunited, thanks to you, my lord, we three shall—
Madam, go and see your son. The sight of him may teach your heart to shun the path to which your anger beckons you. I'll choose another hour to learn my fate. Think how to save him, while you clasp him close.
End of Act 1. Act 2 of Andromache by Jean Racine, translated by Robert Bruce Boswell. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 2, Scene 1. Hermione, Cleone.
Yes, he shall see me, since you'll have it so. That pleasure will I grant him once again. Soon Pylades will bring him, But were I to use my judgment, it should not be so.
What evil lurks there in the sight of him? Say, is he not the same Orestes still, for whose return you sighed 100 times, whose love and constancy have been the theme of your regret?
Paid with ingratitude. That love it is which makes his presence here repugnant. Shame for me, triumph for him, to see my misery so like his own. Is that the proud Hermione, he'll say? Lo, she who scorned me once herself despised. The wretch who on her heart set price so high, learns in her turn the pangs of outraged love? O heavens!
Dispel these most unworthy fears. Too deeply has he felt your power to charm. He comes to urge his love, not to insult. He brings a heart from which he cannot blot your image. But you have not told me yet. What writes your sire?
If Pyrrhus still delays, and if he will not let the Trojan die, my father bids me with the Greeks depart.
'Tis well. Then hear Orestes. You at least may finish that which Pyrrhus has begun. You must forestall him to obtain success. Have you not told me that you hated him?
Hate him, Cleone? Can just pride do less when he forgets the favour freely given? That heart was treacherous which I learned to love. Too dear he was, not to be hated now.
Fly from him then, and since you are beloved.
Ah, let my rage have time to grow more strong. Leave me to guard myself against my foe. Cleone, it is terrible to part, and he will force me to it, but too well. The faithless wretch!
Wait you for some new wrong? To love his slave before your very eyes? What more can make him odious if not that? What greater insult can he offer yet? Had he known how, he would have left undone nothing that could displease you.
Why provoke fresh torture? I would fain disguise the truth. Try to believe not what your eyes have seen. Think that my love is banished. Give me joy that I have conquered and my heart is steeled against its weakness. Make me think so too. You would have me fly. There's naught to hinder it. Let us depart and leave him to enjoy a conquest that degrades him. To his slave himself submissive, let us fly. But what if faith and duty should reclaim his heart? If he should crave his pardon at my feet, and love have power to make him all my own? But no, he only seeks to humble me. Let us stay to mar their happiness, finding some pleasure still in spoiling theirs, or making him renounce his solemn pledge, render him guilty in the eyes of Greece. Already I have drawn upon the son their anger. I would have them ask of him their mother too, and so those pangs repay which she has made me feel. Let her lose him, nay, let him cause her death.
Think you that she, whose eyes run down with tears, can pleasure find in trying to supplant you? That bowed down with grief, she courts her persecutor's love? What signs have shown her anguish, soothed thereby? Why is her soul then plunged in misery? Why 'gainst a favoured lover so severe?
Ah, I have lent too credulous an ear, too faithless vows, and uttered what I felt. I saw no danger in sincerity. My eyes unguarded let their secret out, and my own heart pleaded his cause too well. What woman would not have declared her love, as I did, trusting to his solemn oaths? Did his eye scorn me then as it does now? You cannot but remember, all combined to aid his suit, my family avenged, the joy of Greece, our vessels charged with spoils from Troy, his father's exploits by the suns eclipsed, his passion deemed to pass my own. My heart, yes, and his fame even dazzled you. Ever he betrayed me, all of you conspired to the same end. Enough! If Pyrrhus has, I have not ceased to feel. Orestes' heart is noble as his deeds, and he can love without return. Ay, and perhaps can make himself beloved. I'll see him.
Look, he comes.
Ah, me, I had not thought he was so nigh.
Scene 2. Hermione, Orestes, Cleone.
Sir, shall I think some tender traces left of former love prompt you to visit me in my distress? Or is it duty's voice, and that alone which urges you to come?
Such is the fatal blindness of my heart, known to you well, that I am destined still to come, and come again to worship you, in spite of all my vows to come no more. To see you will, I know, reopen wounds. Each step that brings me near makes me forsworn. I know it, and I blush thereat. But heaven, that saw how our last parting wrung my heart, be witness how I strove to free myself by certain death from oath so hard to keep and ceaseless torture, how to savage tribes, whose gods are only pleased with human blood, I offered life. They shut their temple doors, sparing to take such willing sacrifice. To you at length I must come, and from your eyes must seek the death that shuns my close pursuit, and their indifference shall end despair. They need but cut the last fond cord of hope to bring the fatal hour for which I yearn. They need but say what they have said before, said always. For a year past that has been my only aim. Be yours the victim's blood that Scythians might have split instead of you, had any so relentless there been found.
Have done, sir, with these accents of despair. With matters more momentous you are charged. Why talk of Scythia or my cruelty? Think of the many kings you represent, and must their vengeance on your transports hang? Is it Orestes' blood that they demand? Discharge the office they imposed on you.
Pyrrhus refuses, and my task is done. Madam, he sends me back. Some other power makes him defend the cause of Hector's son.
False and forsworn.
So, ready to depart, my own fate at your lips I come to learn. Ere uttered your reply I think I hear, that you detest me in your secret heart.
What always so unjust? Why will your grief forever of my enmity complain? How have I shown the harshness that you blame so often? 'Twas obedience to my sire that brought me hither, but who knows if I have not been sick at heart since then, and shared alarms no less than yours. I may have shed in this Epirus bitter tears, and none can say I have not sometimes wished you here, despite my duty.
Wished me here? Oh, joy! But can it be to me that you address these heavenly words? Open your eyes and see Orestes, upon whom they frowned so long.
Yes, you, who first taught them to know their power, whose love with their attractions grew, whose worth I could not but esteem, and who have had my sighs, and whom indeed I fain would love.
I understand how hopeless is my lot. Your heart is given to Pyrrhus, and to me vain wishes.
Ah, you need not envy him, unless you crave my hatred.
Yes, for then love well might follow from a source opposed. I cannot please you whom you fain would love, but if you wished to hate me, love alone would be obeyed, and I should win your heart. Ye gods, such worship and such tender love, speak they not for me? Could you lend an ear? Your voice alone supports a prior claim for Pyrrhus. It may be against your will, against his certainly, for in his soul he hates you, loves another.
Who has dared to tell you that he scorns me? Have his looks and words revealed it? Think you that my eyes can light no lasting fire, but soon must rouse contempt? Perhaps more favorable judge may somewhere else be found.
'Tis well to taunt me thus. Am I the one who scorned your charms? Have you not tried my constancy enough? Am I a witness that your eyes lack power? Despise them. Ah, how gladly would they see my rival so despise them as do I.
What care I, sir, whether he loves or hates? Go, and against a rebel arm all Greece. Pay him the price of disobedience. Go, let them make this land a second Troy. Will you say now, my heart is given to him?
Madam, do more, and come to Greece yourself. Will you remain here as a hostage? Come, to every heart let your fair eyes appeal, till common hatred prompts our joint attack.
What if he wed Andromache meanwhile?
Madam!
What deep disgrace must then be mine, to have this Phrygian woman hold my place?
And yet you hate him. Madam, own the truth. We cannot shut love's fire within the breast. Our very eyes betray us. Silence, speech, and fires we hide in vain burst forth more fierce.
Your mind is prepossessed, I see it well, and spreads a deadly venom over my words. In every argument detects deceit, and thinks my hatred prompted by my love. I must explain myself, and you shall act accordingly. You know 'twas duty led my footsteps hither, and detains me here. I cannot leave till Pyrrhus or my sire compel me. Make my father understand the foe of Greece will form no marriage bond with us. Between the Trojan and myself, make Pyrrhus choose which he will keep and which dismiss. Farewell, I wait but his consent to follow you.
Scene 3. Orestes.
Yes, you will follow me, no doubt of that. Already his consent is sure, nor need I fear that Pyrrhus wants to keep you, for he has no eyes, forsooth, save for his dear Andromache. All else irks him, and seeks some pretext that may part himself in you. One word, and all is done. What joy to rob Epirus of a prize so rare! Troy's relics she may save, and keep unharmed brave Hector's widow and his son, and 1,000 others. 'Tis enough for me that, ne'er again to see thee or thy prince, Hermione departs. Good fortune brings him hither. To such charms, love, close his eyes while we hold converse.
Scene 4. Pyrrhus, Orestes, Phoenix.
I have sought you, sir, to own that in a fit of violence I fought against your reasons. Since I went, their justice and their force have shown themselves. I feel, like you, that I have thwarted Greece, my father's efforts, and, indeed, my own, in aiding Troy, frustrating all achieved both by Achilles and myself. Nor now do I condemn resentment, which was based on solid ground. Your victim soon shall be at your disposal.
By this firm resolve, prudent as firm, a caitiff's blood buys peace.
And, to assure you further, I consent to wed Hermione, the pledge of peace forever. Such a pleasing spectacle can have no better witness here than you, who represents all Greece, and most her sire, for in yourself his brother lives again. Go to her. Tell her that tomorrow morn I will receive her at your hands with peace.
Orestes, aside.
Great gods!
Scene 5. Pyrrhus, Phoenix.
Well, Phoenix, has love won the day? Say, do your eyes refuse to know me still?
I see you as you were. That righteous wrath restores you to the Greeks and to yourself. No more the plaything of a servile flame. 'Tis Pyrrhus, 'tis Achilles' son, and more his rival, who at last obeys the laws of honor, and a second triumph wins o'er Troy.
Say rather that my victory begins today, when I can feel its joy, and my heart, lifted from its low estate, seems to have triumphed o'er 1,000 foes in crushing love. Think, Phoenix, what a host of troubles I avoid that follow close on passion. How content to sacrifice duty and friendship, danger I despised, courting destruction from the arms of Greece, might I but win a single look of love.
I bless, my lord, the kind severity which gives you back.
See how she treated me. I thought that, when the mother's fears were roused, she would have yielded for her infant's sake, disarmed by his caresses, but I found no signs of weakness mingled with her tears. Embittered by her woes, more fierce she seemed each time the name of Hector passed her lips. Oft as I promised to protect her son, "'Tis Hector," she would say, as in her arms she held him. His those eyes, that mouth, the heart already bold. My husband I embrace in this his image. Does she think that I will let her keep him thus to feed her love for Hector?
Such were doubtless the return that she would make. But leave her now.
I see how consciousness of beauty flatters her, and makes her proudly wait, despite my wrath, to see me at her knees. Rather at mine I'll see her crouch in vain. Eternal hate parts Hector's widow and Achilles' son.
Then speak of her no more to me, my liege. Go, see Hermione, and at her feet be your sole thought her pleasure, and forget what's past. Prepare her for the nuptial rites yourself, nor to a rival leave that task who loves her but too well.
Think you she will be jealous if I wed Hermione?
What, harping on the Trojan woman still? What matters it to you if vexed or glad? What spell attracts you towards her in despite of your own will?
I have not told her all I mean to say. I showed but half the rage I feel. She knows not what a bitter foe she has in me. Let us return and flout her vengeance, to my hatred give full scope, and see her pride and beauty in the dust. Come.
Go and cast yourself before her, sir. Go swear that in your heart you love her still, and so encourage her to scorn you more.
I see you think my heart, ready to find excuses, hankers after her, and seeks atonement.
Yes, you love her. That's enough.
Love her, forsooth, who hates me all the more she's flattered. Friendless, with no hope but over me. A stranger, I, a slave. I can destroy her son, perhaps I ought. To her I give that son, myself, my throne, and in her treacherous heart can gain no rank better than that of persecutor. No, no, I have sworn it, my revenge is sure, and shall for once her hatred justify. Her infant I abandon. Let her shed what tears she may, call me whatever name anguish can prompt. Ah, what a sight to-day her eyes will see! Phoenix, 'twill be her death, and I shall cause it, yea, myself shall hold the dagger to her breast.
Why blazon it abroad? Too highly did you rate your strength some hours ago.
Pardon the tenderness of an old wound. You need not fear it, matched with my resentment. 'Tis the final spark of love extinct. I'll follow your advice. Must I give up her son, and must I see the princess?
Yes, sire, and with humble vows assure her.
What I promised, I'll perform.
End of Act 2. Act 3 of Andromache by Jean Racine, translated by Robert Bruce Boswell. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 3, Scene 1. Orestes, Pylades.
My friend, restrain this most imprudent rage. You are no more yourself. I know you not. Let me...
No, your counsel comes too late. The voice of reason only wearies me. I must cut short the torture of this life. I'll bear her hence or perish. My resolve is taken, and I'll execute the same. Yes, that I will.
By all means be it so. I sanction that. But still, think where you are. To show your hand is but to court defeat. Learn to disguise your feelings. Calm your rage. Bid your eyes keep the secret of your heart. These guards, these very walls, each breath of air serve Pyrrhus, and yet more Hermione. Hide your resentment with most care from her. Why did you seek her in the name of heaven in such a state?
I knew not what I did. Mastered by rage, I may have gone so far as to vent open threats against them both.
And what fruit did that fit of passion bear?
Was not the blow sufficient to distract the coolest and drive reason from her seat? Tomorrow he will wed Hermione, and from my hand receive her as a mark of honor. Sooner may it with his blood.
You blame him for a purpose he pursues in desperation. Rather pity him, as I do you. His tortures are as great.
Nay, I know well, he laughs at my despair. He scorned her till he knew her loved by me. Her charms were lost upon him but for that. He takes her but to tear her from my arms. Gods, when already I had deemed her won, prepared to leave his sight forevermore. Her heart, divided between love and hate, bewaited his refusal to become my own. Her eyes were opened, and her ears hearkened to me with pity. One word more and sure success.
You think so?
Aye, her wrath was hot against the wretch.
Never more loved. Had Pyrrhus given her up, do you suppose no other pretext would have held her back? Let not her charms beguile you more, but fly from her for ever, rather than attempt to carry off a fury who detests your love, and would embitter all your life with vain regret, having so nearly gained her dearest object.
'Tis that very thought urges me on. All things would smile on her, and naught but bootless rage be mine, compelled to seek oblivion far from her, once more in exile. No, those torments she must share which I have borne too long alone. Enough of being pitied. She shall in her turn feel what it is to fear me, weep with woe, and call me cruel, even as I did her.
Thus as a ravisher Orestes crowns his embassy.
What matter, Pylades? Greece shall not wreak revenge at my expense, nor an ungrateful princess mock my tears. How will our country's praises profit me, when jeered at in Epirus as a fool? What would you? To confess the truth, I feel my innocence a heavy load to bear. When did the gods before prove so perverse as to pursue the guiltless and leave crime unpunished? Wheresoe'er I turn my eyes, I see around me troubles that condemn their justice. Let me earn their wrath, deserve their hatred, eat the fruit if I must pay the penalty of crime. But why draw down their anger on yourself when aimed at me? My friendship has procured you harm enough. Leave me alone to guilt and misery. Dear Pylades, your pity warps your senses. Avoid the dangers that encompass me. Convey to Greece the infant given up by Pyrrhus. Go!
We'll carry off his bride. A brave heart faces peril without fear. Where love leads, friendship follows, and can act as boldly. Let us arm your company with zeal. Our fleet is ready, and the breeze invites us. Every winding passage dark I know. The sea washes these palace walls, and by a secret way this very night your prize shall be conducted to your ship.
Dear friend, I trespass on your love too far. Those griefs that you alone could pity, beg forgiveness for a wretch who loses all he sets his heart on. Hated by the world, he hates himself. But under happier stars, I, in my turn...
Do not betray yourself. Before the blow conceal your purpose, that is all I ask. Till then, forget your wrongs, forget your love. But see, she comes.
Go, friend. Answer for her as I will for myself.
Scene 2. Hermione, Orestes, Cleone.
Well, madam, you have won, thanks to my care. I have seen Pyrrhus, and your marriage now will soon take place.
So I am told, and you were seeking me that I might be prepared?
And will you not reject these tardy vows?
Who would have fancied Pyrrhus faithful still? That passion could have been delayed so long, from bursting into flames, and its return should linger till I was about to leave him. I'll think with you. 'Tis Greece he dreads, not love, but prudence moves him. Over your soul my eyes had power more absolute.
No, 'tis love. I cannot doubt it, and your eyes have wrought all that they wished, nor would displease him now.
What can I do, sir, when my faith is pledged? Rob him of what it was not I who gave. The star that rules a princess is not love. No other glory than obedience left for her. Yet I was going, and you saw how I made duty yield to your desire.
Ah, cruel one, you knew. But every heart is free to follow its own choice, and yours was at your own disposal. And, if given, I had no right to claim it as my own. And yet I hoped. But fortune more than you I blame. And why should I your patience try with vain complaints? Act as your duty bids. Mine is to spare you words of sad reproach.
Scene 3. Hermione, Cleone.
Did you expect his wrath to be so mild?
A silent sorrow need not be for that less fatal. As the cause of his own woe I pity him the more. 'Tis his own stroke that slays him. How long has your marriage been in preparation? When Orestes spoke, Pyrrhus declared himself.
You think 'tis fear? Fear! And of whom? Those who for twice 5 years fled before Hector and Achilles lost, crouched in alarm within their burning ships, and who, but for his son, would have left Troy unpunished and forgone a fruitless quest. Why should he fight against himself? Whatever he does, he wishes. If he marries me, he loves me. Let Orestes, if he will, charge me with all his sorrows. Better cheer awaits me than his sighs. Pyrrhus returns. Ah, dear Cleone, what a rapturous thought! Know you his exploits? Have you heard them told? Too many to be numbered, and himself so brave, so charming, and so faithful too. As shown at last, his glory nothing lacks. Think.
Hide your feelings. Look, your rival comes, to cast her troubles doubtless at your feet.
Ah, 'tis too soon to check this flood of joy. Let us be gone. What should I say to her?
Scene 4. Andromache, Hermione, Cleone, Cephissa.
Why fly you, madam? Is it not a sight to please you? Hector's widow at your knees, weeping. But not with tears of jealousy I come, nor do I envy you the heart surrendered to your charms. A cruel hand robbed me of him whom only I admired. Love's flame was lit by Hector long ago. With him it was extinguished in the tomb. But he has left a son. Some day you'll know how closely to one's heart a son can cling. But you will never know, I wish it not, how keen the pang when danger threatens him, and they would take him from you, all that's left to soothe a blighted heart. Ah! When worn out with 10 long years of woe the Trojans sought your mother's life, on Hector I prevailed to succour her. Over Pyrrhus you have power as I had then over Hector. Can they dread the infant he has left? Him let me hide in some far distant isle, and they may trust my fears to keep him there, taught but to weep with me.
I feel for you. But duty holds my tongue tied when my sire declares his will. It is by him that Pyrrhus's wrath is stirred. But who can bend him better than yourself? His soul has long been subject to your eyes. Make him pronounce the word, and I'll consent.
Scene 5. Andromache, Cephissa.
How scornfully did she refuse my prayer!
Accept her counsel, see him, as she says. One look of yours may Greece and her confound. But look, He seeks you of his own accord.
Scene 6. Pyrrhus, Andromache, Phoenix, Cephissa. Pyrrhus to Phoenix.
Where is the princess? Said you not that she was here?
I thought so.
Andromache to Cephissa.
Now you see what power my eyes have over him.
What says she?
All is lost.
Hermione is gone, and we will follow.
Speak, why obstinately dumb?
Has he not promised them my child?
But not given him up.
Vain are my tears. His death is certain.
How her pride disdains to look my way.
I should but irritate him more. Let us retire.
Come, Hector's son shall be yielded to Greece.
Andromache, throwing herself at his feet.
Stop, sire. What will you do? Give up the son? Why not the mother, then? Where is the kindness that you swore to me so lately? Can I touch no chord at least of pity? Does this sentence bar all hope of pardon?
Phoenix knows my word is pledged.
No dangers were too great for you to brave on my behalf.
Blind then, I now can see. Your wishes might have won his pardon once. You ne'er so much as asked it. Now you come too late.
Full well you understood, my lord, the sigh that feared repulse. Forgive the trace of pride that died not with my royal rank, and made me shrink from importunity. My lord, you know, had it not been for you, Andromache would never have embraced a master's knees.
No, in your secret soul you hate me, scorn to owe me anything. This son, the only object of your care, you would have loved him less had he been saved through me. You hate me with a bitter scorn, you hate me more than all the Greeks together. Enjoy at leisure such a noble rage. Come, Phoenix.
I will go where Hector's gone.
Madame.
What further can I say to him? The author of my woes, he knows them all.
To Pyrrhus.
See to what state you have reduced me, sire. I've seen my father slain, our walls enwrapped in flames, and all our family cut off. My husband's bloody corpse dragged through the dust, his only son reserved for chains with me. For his sake I endure to live a slave. Yea, more, this thought has sometimes brought relief, that fate has fixed my place of exile here. The son of many kings beneath your sway is happier as a slave than he could be elsewhere, and I had hoped his prison walls might be a place of refuge. Priam found Achilles could respect his fallen state. I thought his son more generous still. That trust, my Hector, pardon, when I deemed thy foe too noble to commit a dastard's crime. Ah, would he but allow us to abide where for thine ashes I have raised a tomb, and, ending there his hatred and our woes, divide us not from thy beloved remains.
Go, and await me, Phoenix.
Scene 7. Pyrrhus, Andromache, Cephissa.
Madam, stay. Your tears may yet win back this cherished son. Yes, I regret that, moving you to weep, I armed you with a weapon against myself. I thought I could have brought more hatred here. You might at least consent to look at me. See, are my eyes those of an angry judge, whose pleasure 'tis to cause you misery? Why force me to be faithless to yourself? Now for your son's sake, let us cease to hate. 'Tis I who urge you, save the child from death. Must sighs of mine beg you to spare his life? And must I clasp your knees to plead for him? Once more, but once, save him and save yourself. I know what solemn vows for you I break, what hatred I bring down upon myself. Hermione shall go, and on her brow for crown I set a burning brand of shame. and in the fane, decked for her marriage rites, her royal diadem yourself shall wear. This offer, lady, is no longer one you can afford to scorn. Perish or reign. A year's contempt has made me desperate, nor can I any longer live in doubt, harassed by fears and mingling threats with groans. To lose you is to die, 'tis death to wait. I leave you to consider, and will come to bring you to the temple where this child my fury shall destroy before your eyes, or where in love I crown you as my queen.
Scene 8. Andromache, Cephissa.
Is not as I foretold. In spite of Greece, you are still mistress of your destiny.
Alas, that it should be as you have said. I have no choice but to condemn my son.
That were to stretch fidelity too far. Excess of virtue may be fraught with guilt. Hector himself would urge milder course.
Pyrrhus in Hector's place. Oh, I loathe the thought.
Think of his son torn from your arms by force. More than aught else, his shade would blush at that. It would not shame him that your conqueror should reinstate you in your royal rank, tremble your foes beneath his feet in wrath. Forget that fierce Achilles was his sire, and frustrate all his exploits.
How can I cease to remember them, though he forget? Hector's unburied corpse, dishonored, dragged around the walls of Troy. His father slain before mine eyes, and grasping as he fell the altar stained with his own blood. That night, that cruel night, think how its horrors brought eternal night to Troy. Recall the look of Pyrrhus, crossing in the lurid light our burning threshold. How his eyeballs glared, my fallen brothers burned beneath his tread, kindling the carnage, dyed from head to foot with gore. Canst hear the victor's shouts, the groans from dying lips, as fire and sword rush on? Canst see Andromache's despair, and how Pyrrhus confronts her with those frightful deeds wherewith he won his glory? There behold the husband you would give me. No, my friend, I will not be the accomplice of his crimes. His latest victim let him make of me, and I, without a murmur, will submit.
Then let us go and see your son expire. Your presence only do they wait for. How you shudder!
Yes, remembrance sends a pang that pierces deep. What? See him perish too! My only joy, on whom my Hector stamped his image, token of the love I lost. Ah me! I call to mind the day he sought Achilles, fatal day for him. He pressed his boy to his courageous heart, and said, drying my tears, "Dear wife, I know not how fate may decide the fight to which I go. I leave you this, my son, a faithful pledge, and should he lose his father, be to him father and mother both. If you hold dear the happiness we shared, then show to him how much you loved me. Shall that precious blood be shed before my eyes, his line extinct with him? O cruel king, must my offence be counted his? He has not hated thee, nor yet reproached thee with his kinsman's death, resenting not the ills he cannot feel. Yet thou must die, my son, unless I turn the sword aside that hangs above thy head. The choice is mine, and shall I let it fall? No, never can I suffer thee to die. Let us find Pyrrhus. No, Cephissa, go, find him for me.
What shall I say to him?
Tell him a mother loves her son enough. But has he sworn indeed to slay the child? Can passion make Pyrrhus so merciless?
Madame, in fury he will soon return.
Then go, assure him.
Of your faith, or what?
Alas, have I that promise still to give? O ashes of my husband and my sire, how dearly must I buy thy life, my son! Come, let us go.
Whither? With what resolve?
To Hector's tomb, there to consult his will.
End of Act 3. Act 4 of Andromache by Jean Racine, translated by Robert Bruce Boswell. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 4, Scene 1. Andromache, Cephissa.
My lady, 'tis your husband, doubt it not. 'Tis Hector works this miracle in you. Surely he wishes Troy should rise again, under that sun whose life he bids you guard. Pyrrhus has promised you the boy. Just now you heard him say he waits but for your word to make him yours, and you may trust his love. Your heart contents him. Father, sceptre, friends, he recks them not, if you will reign o'er him and o'er his people. Does he then deserve hatred? Indignant he confronts the Greeks, and pities the poor babe no less than you. Guards him from outrage, withstand their rage, exposing his own life to shelter his. But all is ready, you have promised.
Yes, I will be there. Let us go see my son.
Why in such haste? No one forbids you now to visit him. Therewith be satisfied, and soon your tenderness shall have full scope in many a fond and unrestrained caress. Will it not bring you joy to rear your babe no longer for a life of slavery, but to revive the glories of his line?
Cephissa, this is the last time I shall see my child.
Why? What is this?
O my dear friend, with whom my soul should wear no mask, for you have proved in all my trouble faithful still. I hoped you knew me better than to deem myself so faithless found as to betray the husband who within my heart survives, that caring not how much I vex the dead, I should think only of my own repose. Is that to keep my promise made so oft to Hector's ashes? But I am obliged to save his son. Pyrrhus, on wedding me, vows to protect him. I may trust his word. I know his nature, violent but sincere. He will do more, Cephissa, than he said, and I rely too on the wrath of Greece. Her hatred will on Hector's son bestow a father. Since a victim is required, I will assure to Pyrrhus all that's left of life to me, and by most sacred bonds indissolubly bind him to my boy. But straightway shall this hand with fatal stroke sever the cord of life no longer true, and so preserve me stainless, and yet pay Pyrrhus his due, nor fail in what I owe to son and husband, ay, and to myself. This is the harmless plot my love suggests, or rather Hector's spirit. So alone him and my sires I join. Close you mine eyes.
Ah, if you die, think not that I will live.
Nay, I forbid you, friend, to follow me. My only treasure to your care I trust. You lived for me, live now for Hector's son, sole guardian of the hopes of fallen Troy. Her royal line requires your constant care. Watch Pyrrhus well, and make him keep his faith. If he shall need it, speak to him of me. Remind him I consented to be his before my death. Teach him to prize that bond and blot out all resentment from his soul. That leaving him my son, I showed how much I valued him. And to that son make known the heroes of his race. Direct his steps to follow them. Tell him of all their fame, of what they did rather than what they were. Dwell on his father's virtues day by day, and sometimes whisper of a mother's love. But of avenging me he must not dream. His master's friendship let him strive to win. Regarding his high birth with modesty, let him remember, though of Hector's blood, Troy lives in him alone. And for his sake, in one day, I lay down life, hatred, love.
Alas.
You must not come with me unless your heart is brave and can command your tears. Cephissa, dry your eyes. I hear a step. Remember your great trust. Hermione approaches. Let us shun her violence.
Scene 2. Hermione, Cleone.
This silence, madam, fills me with surprise. You utter not a word. This cruel slight seems not to ruffle your tranquillity. Tamely you suffer such a rude rebuff, who shuddered but to hear your rival's name. You who could scarce endure without despair the passing glance that Pyrrhus cast on her. He weds her, makes her partner of his throne, and plights the troth so lately given to you. Yet still your lips are dumb, your tongue disdains to upbraid the traitor with deserved reproach. I fear what such a fatal calm forebodes. It would be better far.
You sent for him. Is it not so?
Orestes will be here, and as you may believe will place himself wholly at your disposal, without hope of recompense. Your eyes are sure enough to charm him. See, he enters.
Scene 3. Orestes, Hermione, Cleone.
Can it be that I, for once, in seeking you, obey your bidding, or has false hope flattered me? Had you indeed wished me to come to you? Shall I believe your eyes, at last disarmed, will...
I would know whether you love me, sir.
Love you? Great gods! My vows too hard to keep, my flight, return, reverence that curbed reproach, my dark despair, my eyes all drowned in tears. What witness will you, if you trust not these?
I trust them all. Avenge me.
Let us go, my mistress, and once more set Greece on fire. This arm shall make your name renowned, and you shall rival Helen, I, the king of men. Let us revive the miseries of Troy here in Epirus, and our father's fame eclipse. Yes, I am ready. Let us start.
No, let us stay, not carry these affronts so far. What? Crown the insults of my foes and wait elsewhere to wreak a slow revenge? Resign myself to the arbitrament of war? That after all might fail to vindicate my wrongs. I will have all Epirus weep when I depart. Avenge me in an hour or not at all. Delay and you refuse. Haste to the temple. You must slay.
I whom?
Pyrrhus.
The king?
Your hatred hesitates. Run quickly thither, lest I call you back. Speak not of duties I would fain forget, nor will I hear a word in his defence, and least from you.
From me? Your tenderness has stamped his crime too deeply on my soul. Let us take vengeance, but by other means. Become his foes, but not his murderers, and with the arms of justice ruin him. Shall I for answer to the Greeks bring back his head? And have I taken on myself this charge from them, to turn assassin? No. In heaven's name let Greece the challenge meet, and crushed beneath her hatred let him die. The name of king is sacred, and the brow.
Is not my sentence then enough for you? That my offended dignity demands a victim to be offered to myself? that if you quell the tyrant you shall have me for reward, that I hate him whom once I loved. Yes, I confess it. He knew how to win my heart. Whether my father's will or inclination moved me matters not. Act on that knowledge. Though he broke his vows, though with just horror I regard his crime, yet while he lives, fear I may still forgive. Distrust my wavering wrath till death removes the monster, for unless he dies today, tomorrow I may love him.
Then must death prevent his pardon. How shall I proceed? Can I so soon avenge your injuries? Where lies the path that leads him to his doom? I have but just set foot upon the soil, and you would have me overturn the state, and slay the king. And for his punishment you grant me but a day. No, not an hour. It must be done before his people's eyes. My victim to the altar shall be brought. No longer I demur. I will but go, and view the appointed place of sacrifice. This night I do your bidding, and he dies.
Meanwhile today he weds Andromache. Already in the shrine his throne is set, his crime accomplished and my shame confirmed. Why should you wait? He offers you his life. No gods attend him to this festival. He makes them all encircle Hector's son, and gives himself to my avenger's arm. Will you then of his life take greater care than he does? Arm my followers with your Greeks. Stir up your friends, on mine you may rely. Me he betrays, fools you and scorns us all. Surely their hatred is as great as mine. The Trojan woman's husband loath to spare. Speak, and my foe cannot escape your hands, or rather they will strike him dead themselves. Lead, or be led by this noble rage, dyed with the faithless wretch's blood return. Thus only can you gain my heart. Now go.
But madam, think!
This rarely passes bounds, your scruples grate upon my angry mood. I show the way to win Hermione and make Orestes happy, but I see he will do naught to earn her, only whine forever. Go, boast of your constancy elsewhere, and leave me to avenge myself. My weak concessions fill my soul with shame. One day of such refusals is too much. When all is ready for the marriage rite, and where you dare not venture, I will go alone. Find means to approach my enemy, and stab the heart I could not touch with love. Then shall my blood-stained hands, turned on myself, unite our destiny in spite of him. And traitor though he be, 'twill be more sweet for me to die with him than live with you.
No, I will rob you of that dismal joy. He shall not die but by Orestes' hand. Yes, by my arm your enemy shall fall, and you shall then reward me, if you will.
Go, leave your future fortune in my care. Let all your ships be ready for our flight.
Scene 4. Hermione, Cleone.
Think, madam, ere your ruin you invoke.
Ruin or no, I mean to have revenge. I doubt whatever promises be made. The trust reposed on others than myself, the guilt of Pyrrhus does not scorch his eyes, as it does mine. My stroke would be more sure. To be my own avenger would be sweet. To stain this fair arm with the traitor's blood, and to increase my pleasure and his pain. To hide my rival from his dying gaze. What if Orestes fail to let him know? He dies a victim sacrificed to me. Go, find and tell him to inform the wretch. He owes his death to me and not to Greece. Run, dear Cleone, my revenge is balked. If he should die unconscious, that his doom proceeds from me.
I will obey you. What do I see? Who would have fancied it? The king himself.
Follow Orestes straight. He must do naught till he sees me again.
Scene 5. Pyrrhus, Hermione, Phoenix.
You are surprised that I should seek you here, and my approach disturbs your colloquy. I do not come armed with unworthy wiles. No feigned excuse shall gloss the wrong I do. My heart condemns me with no doubtful voice, nor can I urge a plea I know is false. I wed a Trojan woman. Yes, I own the faith I plight to her was given to you. I might remind you that our fathers formed these ties at Troy without consulting us, and we were bound together by no love or choice of ours. But 'tis enough for me that I submitted. My ambassadors made you the promise of my heart and hand. So far from wishing to revoke the pledge, I willingly confirmed it. You, with them, came hither, and although another eye already had subdued me and forestalled your sway, that passion did not make me pause, and I resolved still to be true to you. I welcomed you as queen, and, till this day, I thought my oath would hold the place of love. But love prevailed, and, by a fatal stroke, Andromache has won the heart she hates. Each drawn by the other in our own despite, we hasten to the altar, there to swear union forever. Blame me as you may for traitor, though a willing one I grieve to prove defaulter. Nor do I presume to check the just resentment that relieves myself as much as you. Call me forsworn. I fear your silence more than your reproach. Wrung by the secret witness in my heart, the less you say, the more I feel my guilt.
Sir, this confession, stripped of all deceit, shows that at least you, to yourself, are just. And though resolved to snap this solemn tie, crime makes you, in your own eyes, criminal. Yet, after all, why should a conqueror stoop to common honesty that keeps its word? No, perfidy for you has secret charms. You seek me but to glory in your shame, unhindered by your duty or your oath. A maid of Greece, and then a dame of Troy, attract your fickle fancy flying off, returning and then leaving me once more, crowning in turn the princess and the slave, making Troy bow to Greece and Greece to Troy. Thus acts a heart that's master of itself, heroic and no slave of promises. Your bride might be displeased were I to stint such honeyed terms as wretch and perjurer. You came to look whether my face were pale, and then to mock my sorrow in her arms. You would be glad if I would follow her in tears. But one day has brought joy enough. You need not seek new titles to renown. Those that you have may well suffice your greed, an aged sire of Hector smitten down, dying before the eyes of all his kin, while your sword, thrust into his feeble heart, seeks the few frozen drops that linger there, Troy all in flames, plunged in a sea of blood. Your hand too cut Polyxena's fair throat, a cruel sight that Greece herself condemned. Such glorious deeds claim fit acknowledgment.
I know full well to what excess of rage revenge for Helen's rape transported me. To you, her child, I might impute the blood that I have shed. But be the past forgot. I thank high heaven that your indifference sanctions a happier passion in my breast. My heart, too ready to torment itself, should know you better, and excuse its change. Madam, I did you wrong to feel remorse. Can one be faithless who was never loved? You have not tried to keep me bound to you. Fearing to injure, it may be that I serve you. No sympathy unites our hearts. 'Twas duty that I followed, as did you. You never loved me in reality.
I never loved you. What then did I do? For you, our native princes, I despised, sought you myself in your remotest realms. Still am I here though you have proved untrue, and all my Greeks, My weakness view with shame. I have commanded them to hide my wrongs. In secret I awaited your return. To duty, trusting, whether soon or late, you will bring back a heart I claimed as mine. I loved you, though inconstant. Could I more, if faithful found, even while your cruel lips calmly announce the death of all my hopes? I doubt if I have ceased to love you yet. But if it must be so, and heaven in wrath reserves for other eyes the power to charm, complete this marriage, but at least refrain from forcing me to witness my disgrace. Listen, for this may be my last appeal. Let one day pass. Tomorrow you shall wed. You answer not? Ah, faithless wretch, 'tis clear. You count these moments lost you spend with me. Impatient your enchantress to behold once more, you grudge with others to converse. With her your heart inspires each word, each look. Escape where you are free, I hold you not from going, swear as you have sworn to me. Go, and profane the majesty of heaven, the justice of gods, who'll never forget how those same oaths have bound you to myself. Haste to their altars, take that perjured heart. There, dread to meet Hermione once more.
Scene 6. Pyrrhus, Phoenix.
My lord, you heard her. Be upon your guard. Beware the vengeance of a baffled love inflamed to fury, armed with the support of Greece that is the champion of her cause. Orestes loves her still, perchance that prize.
Andromache awaits me. Guard her son.
End of Act 4. Act 5 of Andromache by Jean Racine. Translated by Robert Bruce Boswell. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 5, Scene 1. Hermione.
Where am I? And what is it that I have done? What yet remains? What rage possesses me? How through these halls I roam irresolute, devoured with grief, and know not if I love or hate. His eye at parting seemed to freeze my soul, nor did he ever feign to pity. No, not a moment's tenderness or sorrow. His heart refused to grant a single groan, deaf to my sighs, mid all my anguish calm. My tears awoke no sympathy in him, and yet I mourn his loss. And for a crown of sorrow, still this weak heart throbs for him. I tremble at the blow so soon to fall, forget revenge and almost pardon him. But no, my sentence shall not be revoked. Perish the traitor, since he is dead to me. Triumphantly he laughs my wrath to scorn, and thinks this tempest will dissolve in tears. That, always feeble and irresolute, with one hand I'll ward off the other blows. Past kindness makes him deem it measureless, but other thoughts rather his mind engross. The traitor, in his triumph, little cares whether the absent wish him life or death, and leaves to me this dire perplexity. One stroke shall end it. At Orestes' hand he meets the death he ought to have foreseen, which he himself has forced me to desire. What? Is it I then who pronounce his doom? And must he die because Hermione has loved him? He whose oft-repeated deeds gave ever fresh delight when heard again, to whom in secret I had linked my lot. Ere to the fatal contract we were bound, have I then crossed so many lands and seas, and come so far only to dig his grave, to be his murderer? Ah, ere he dies.
Scene 2. Hermione, Cleone.
What have I done, Cleone? Have you aught to tell me? Where is Pyrrhus?
At the height of love and happiness, proudest of men, I saw him to the temple lead his bride, his latest conquest. In his eye there shone the light of joy and hope. Gazing on her, he seemed to drink intoxicating draughts. Andromache, midst all the glad acclaim, bore in her heart sad memories of Troy, incapable alike of love and hate, submissive, she nor murmured nor rejoiced.
And Pyrrhus? Carried he his bold affront to the end? Observed you well his countenance? Seemed he to taste calm pleasure unalloyed? Did he not hither cast a single look? Tell me, Cleone, did you meet his eye, and did he blush when he perceived you there? Showed he, with troubled brow, a sense of guilt, or did his pride support him to the last?
He noticed nothing, and his safety seemed with honour's voice forgotten like yourself. Heedless of those who follow friends or foes, he hastens onward to love's wished-for goal. Round Hector's son he has bestowed his guards, and fancies danger threatens him alone. Phoenix has him in charge, who to a fort far from the temple and the palace brings the child, whose safety seems the only care that Pyrrhus knows.
The wretch shall die. What said Orestes?
He has entered with his men the temple.
Is he ready to avenge my wrongs?
I know not.
What? You know not? Will Orestes too prove false?
He worships you, but with 1,000 scruples of remorse contending, now to honour he gives heed, and now to love. In Pyrrhus he respects the throne, Achilles and Achilles' son. He fears the wrath of Greece and all the world, but more than all, he said, he fears himself. As victor he would bring the traitor's head, but not as an assassin, odious name. At last he entered, knowing not if thence he should go forth blood guilty or a mere spectator.
No, their triumph he will watch, without the wish to strike a jarring note. I know what scruples make his courage blench. The coward fears to die, and fears naught else. My mother stooped not to a single prayer, yet in her cause all Greece rose up in arms. Her eyes through 10 years' war saw 20 kings, whose names she scarcely knew die for their sake. But while I but ask death to a perjurer, charging a lover to avenge my wrongs, and so to win me at no risk to him, I give myself, and yet I am refused. Go to my own arm must for justice strike. Let cries of pain through all the temple ring. Their fatal bridal shall in bloodshed end, and but one moment see them man and wife. Nor shall my fury halt to choose its prey. Orestes shall, as Pyrrhus be to me, and if by death I purchase my revenge, I'll gladly die in such good company.
Scene 3. Orestes, Hermione, Cleone.
Madam, 'tis over, and your will is done. Yes, at the altar now the traitor yields his life.
Is Pyrrhus dead?
He breathes his last. Our Greeks have blotted out his guilt in blood. I gave my promise, though this plot to me appeared too horrible. With hasty steps I sought the temple. When I found our men had to the very altar crept unseen amid the crowd. With countenance unchanged, Pyrrhus perceived me, and his courage seemed warmed at the sight. Greece in my person braved, lending fresh glory to his nuptial rites. Proudly he raised on high the diadem and placed it on the Trojan woman's brow, with his own hand saying, I give to you my crown, and plight my troth, reign o'er my realms and o'er myself. Your son shall find in me a father's love, may heaven confirm the vow. I make to you his mother, and his foes be mine. I hail him as the King of Troy. Applause resounded as he spake these words, answered by cries of wrath from Grecian throats. They thronged around the traitor where he stood, so that I found no place to strike, for each vied with his neighbor who should lay him low. Covered with blood, vainly he sought escape from countless blows, and at the altar fell. Thence passing through the terror-stricken crowds I came, to bring my princess to the port. There will our friends, their hands with slaughter red, be with us soon. My promise is fulfilled.
What have they done?
If their excess of zeal has marred your vengeance, pardon them for that. You would have had me be the first to strike, that he might feel it was for you he died, but 'twas my ardor prompted them to act. For your sake, and yours only, were they brought within the temple. You may justly claim as sacrifice to you the life they took, as agents of the vengeance you had planned.
Traitor, be silent, nor impute to me the crime which brands you coward. Let the Greeks applaud the impious act. Go, I disown you, your cruelty, and you, who have destroyed the noblest of mankind this fatal day. Did no compunction visit your fell hearts to check such slaughter? Who made you the judge to sentence him to death? What was his crime? What right had you to slay him? Tell me that. Who bade you do it?
Heavens! It was you yourself just now upon the spot the order gave.
You should have paid no heed to love bereft of reason, but have read my deeper thoughts. Saw you not, while I raved distractedly, my heart belied whatever words I spoke? Even had I meant them, you should have refused. 100 times repeated such a wish. Asked me again before the blow was struck, and then returned, or rather shunned my sight. You should have let me wreak my own revenge. What lured you hither, hateful to mine eyes? Behold, what bitter fruit your love has borne. You bring me all the ills that follow you. Your embassy it was, fatal to both, that to my rival made his thoughts incline. He might have else admitted me to share his heart again, or feigned at least to love. Go you, in this Epirus I will stay. Greece and my Spartan home I here renounce. Ye, all my family, enough for me, that they have bred a monster like yourself.
Scene 4. Orestes.
Was that Hermione I saw and heard? She for whom flowed the blood that I have shed? Did she not call me traitor, murderer? Am I Orestes? And is Pyrrhus slain? Was reason's light extinguished in my heart that I should kill a king whom I revere, in one day violate a sovereign's rights, an envoy's office, and all human ties, profane the altars where he stood at bay, and turn a sacrilegious regicide, and all for one who knows no gratitude, who made me vow to slay him, or she ne'er would see me more. When I have done the task her fury set, she taunts me with his blood. She loves him, as a monster looks on me. Far from mine eyes forever she withdraws, and in her thankless flight leaves me for higher names of reproach, incurred to please her rage.
Scene 5. Orestes, Pylades, soldiers of Orestes.
We must depart and leave this palace, sir, or be content never to leave at all. Our Greeks defend the gate one moment more, ere our pursuers' forces grow too strong. All here obey Andromache's commands. They treat her as their queen, and us as foes. And she herself, stubborn while Pyrrhus lived, all duties of a faithful widow pays, and urges vengeance, haply all the more that Hector's shade too claims the blood of Greece. Let us not wait then till they hem us round. Our men will join us, and while all the crowd still gaze and gape upon Hermione, we may pass through in safety. Come this way.
No, friends, it is Hermione I fain would follow. Her last sentence can I not survive. Go, let me expiate my crime.
Hermione? Forget her. Would you still, the instrument and object of her rage, invite fresh insult e'en among the dead? And because she dies, must you perish too?
She dies! Ye gods, what is it that I hear?
Did you not know? We met her as we came. With hurrying feet and frenzy in her eyes, she sought the temple and found Pyrrhus borne by soldiers whom his blood to vengeance roused. Doubtless that sight stirred madness too in her. We saw her as we stood above the gate, or Pyrrhus bending low, dagger in hand. Then, eyes uplifting, plunge it in her breast, and fall.
Heaven has been pleased to inflict woes worse than I had looked for. Never turned one moment from relentless punishment, the gods have made my agony supreme, and found delight devising miseries that I might serve as an example meet of wrath celestial, born to wretchedness. Well, I have drained the cup and die content. Where are the lovers? To complete my joy, let me be drowned in blood, their own and mine. Let me behold them as they both expire, and 3 hearts be united that were long discordant. But what thickness of black night enshrouds me suddenly? What horror thrills through all my frame with no way of escape? Thank heaven, I see a glimmering light. 'Tis blood, streams of red blood all round me.
Ay, my lord.
What, Pyrrhus? Must I meet thee everywhere? How has my hated rival scaped his wounds? Hold, I have yet a stroke reserved for thee. But what is this? Hermione, with arms encircling, tears him from the threatened blow. Ye gods, what frightful looks she casts on me! Serpents and fiendish faces dog her steps. Why are your hands outstretched, furies of hell? Whom do these snakes that hiss above your heads threaten to sting? What means this horrid train? Come ye to bear me to eternal night? So be it, to your rage Orestes yields. But no, leave vengeance to Hermione. 'Twere better that she tear me limb from limb, yea, and devour the heart I offer her.
Friends, he has lost his senses. While there's time, let's take advantage of this fit and save the prince. Our efforts will be in vain if once his madness here with consciousness return.
End of Act 5. End of Andromache by Racine. Translated by Robert Bruce Boswell.